This is the Nightshade Cult, a podcast macabre.
We bid you welcome, enter freely and of your own will.
I'm Nick Graham.
And I'm David Graves.
We will be your horror hosts for this hot take of Robert Eggers' 2024 gothic horror, Nosferatu, as well as our annual year-end favorites rundown.
Good evening.
Yeah, so this is we're going to do a little bit of a double header on this one.
Yeah, we normally do a year-end favorites. We've been doing this for a few years now, and those episodes are usually a little short. And
they underperform in streams-wise.
That's true, but we both went and saw Nosferatu in the theater, so it'll be more of a hot take, less of a dissection, because we couldn't take a lot of notes, stop, the whole deal.
All that. I mean, I think I've got kind of my normal level of notes.
But, I have way less.
But it's, I just don't take very many notes. I'm a off the dome sort of person.
Gotcha. So do you want to do the favorites first and then hit Nosferatu?
No, I think let's do our favorites at the end.
At the end, all right.
Where we normally would be doing our Dark Tidings and Vault of Darkness. That'll serve as that stuff.
If someone found their way here on YouTube from the title of the thing, they get the Nosferatu first. And if you've never listened to us and you don't give a damn about our year-end favorites, you don't have to listen, but you might get a good recommendation.
Yeah, and once you've sat here and listened to our, I think, informed opinion about Nosferatu at this point. Yeah,
this would be the fourth Nosferatu movie.
Yeah, we're deep into this.
Not counting any Dracula titles, just Nosferatu titles.
Yes, we have gone in hard over these last 3 episodes on Nosferatu. And we were well prepared for this movie, I think.
Yeah, I was watching it beat for beat, noticing the stylistic choices that were made and story beat choices, because all of it is based on the same book, and there's lots of creative license used in this movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. It expands on things and elaborates and clarifies, and then it does away with some like aesthetic details and minor things.
Like no rat's teeth. That's a problem.
Oh, yeah. Well, you just couldn't see him under the mustache.
No, that's what I thought at first, because he has a big old mustache. But then at the end, when he's like dying and whatnot, and you see him, spoilers, Nosferatu dies. Oh, yeah. He does in every version of the movie. Yeah.
The cock crows and the sun comes up. That's part of the myth.
Yeah, he had normal dude teeth.
Just normal dude.
Yeah, maybe they didn't. Maybe his fangs retract or something.
He definitely leaves the standard kind of 2-hole punch.
Yeah. So they probably are canines.
Yeah,
right?
maybe it's canines. But he didn't have, you're right, didn't have the rat teeth.
No.
Interesting detail. Well, because this will probably be a little long, do we want to just roll the music and get right into this?
Sounds good to me.
A troubled young woman unwittingly awakens an ancient evil, an evil that will cross the sea and destroy everything that she loves to possess her.
Yeah, this is really, this movie is more the Ellen Hutter show.
It is. They all turn into the Ellen Hutter show. Like, that is fundamental to the story. And Eggers kind of zeroed in on that. He's the writer and director in this case. And makes her the protagonist from the start. Yeah. And I think that's good.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it being the Ellen Hutter show. I don't know. I feel like they did a lot of tell, don't show with her backstory and all that stuff. And it felt a little backloaded, like stuff is going down and then she's like, oh yeah, I forgot to say, I'm actually a psychic or a witch or whatever. And actually, I've had this long distance relationship for a long time. It kind of felt like I would have liked to have what George Martin calls the Ice Monster prologue. I'd have liked to have a prologue where there's some horror shit with her.
Well, it does have that. That's how the movie opens with her. She's praying for some sort of angelic support, and the Count receives the message, intercepts it, and contacts her.
Eggers is kind of precious with showing things sometimes, and other times he just straight up tells you and doesn't even bother showing. So I like a vague ass Nosferatu. That's my favorite way to do it. This one was vague sometimes and overly specific other times. It was interesting.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because I really, we've been covering the original film and then Herzog's and then Marriage's take on it with Shadow of the Vampire, and I've mentioned it in the other episodes. Something that's never been clear is, why does the Count wake up and suddenly want to move cross country when he has been languishing in obscurity for centuries? What woke him up? And this movie does answer that question. Obviously, Eggers had the same question that I did, and made the connection to her.
Not to cut you off, but I think that is a good question, and we answered it ourselves. When we were we asked it ourselves when we were joking about how this is a real estate novel, or whatever. But I actually think the real estate answer is the better answer, because in this movie, Orlok says it himself. He basically lives in a world where supernatural belief is the fact of the day. He wants to move to a place where no one believes in him, because then he's more powerful, because nobody believes in supernatural. That's actually a better explanation than they had a long distance prayer relationship. It's just kind of that's obtuse to me, because they made Orlok into some sort of sorcerer, where he wasn't really before. He's just a straight up vampire in most of the other versions.
Well, and again, I think that this is clarifying things that are unclear, because he was also in Murnau's film communicating with Herr Connacht, the guy that runs the firm that Hutter works for, and this makes that communication two-way as well.
Yeah, and
explains kind of how that works.
Yeah, because Connacht was a occultist guy, and he found a grimoire, and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. That all kind of worked for me in a big way, because these were the questions I wanted answered after watching 3 films.
I would way rather have more mystery about it.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. And that's not usually you like answers.
Well, I like answers, but I like it to be an interesting unfurling of the answers, not an by the way.
Yeah.
So and I actually think that Connacht's how they figured out why he went insane. I thought that was actually really good.
Yes.
They went and tore his office apart and found all the stuff. I was like, oh, okay, that's rad. That's how we figured out. He just didn't go crazy based on letters. No. He reached out because he was a cult guy.
Yeah.
And that's how he started this whole thing. And I actually think that combined with Orlok wanting to move to a place where he would have power would have been enough, and it would make a lot of sense. You have a dude basically reach out, summon him with magic, with circle, etc., and then it all goes down. But whatever. I'm not a hater on the Hutter, Ellen Hutter character. I think she was pretty well written, and there were a couple times where I felt she was completely unreasonable in her actions. A rational person wouldn't do what she was doing. But then again, she's not really rational. She's played up as kind of a little bit unbalanced.
And she has an ancient evil fingering her brain. You know what I mean? She's getting pushed and pulled by dark powers.
Yeah, okay, so I'm shitting on this movie. I actually really liked it. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
It's my second favorite Nosferatu.
Okay.
I thought that Nosferatu the Vampire was my favorite one.
Oh, so you go Herzog?
Herzog, all the way.
Eggers. Marriage?
The rest.
Murnau?
Yeah. Herzog, Eggers, then the original, and then Marriage, because that's a tribute movie. That's like, it's like a cheeky kind of comedy thing.
It's not quite. It's not a remake. It's an homage.
And I think that this is really good. And it is top tier. It's the number one, maybe even the number one vampire movie I've ever seen with regard to visuals.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful.
I think this has kind of slotted into this is my favorite Dracula. This has taken that top spot.
I mean, Bill Skarsgård is fucking fierce in this role. I mean, we haven't got to the cast yet, but this is a really good Orlok.
Incredible.
This is a really good one. He's scary as hell. And he's written in a way that it feels like Eggers did away with the entire pathetic, pitiable vampire.
Yeah.
And he just made him a vampire lord from Transylvania.
It was crazy going from the Klaus Kinski sort of wretched cuck vampire to this Sigma Chad vampire with his girthy hog out. This was an alpha
Sigma Chad vampire. Gotcha.
Yeah, he was very high tier.
Yeah, this guy had been on his grind set for a while. Like, he was not fucking around. No, I like this version. I like a vampire lord better than like a weaselly cuck.
And the thing I like about it is there's a tendency, and I think this goes back to Lugosi, but was cemented really by Gary Oldman, sexy Dracula. You know, like where Lugosi was just such a fucking dashing gentleman in the tuxedo, and then Gary Oldman turns it up with the top hat,
absolutely,
and the little glasses, and like he's got his long hair with a nice little wave. Like, he's a very sexy Dracula. This is a vile Dracula.
Yeah, this guy is gross and rapey.
Yeah,
like he is not handsome.
He's not a wretch like the Kinski Orlok, but he is a monster, and he's bad. Like, he's evil incarnate. He's not sympathetic.
Yeah, I think that this version was really, really cool. I like how he's like this crazy black magician who has just become this Eastern lord.
Yeah,
it's just a cool character and a cool way to write it. I enjoyed the way that they wrote the other main characters. Like, there's a lot of these versions of this movie, including the Dracula versions, where, you know, Hutter or whatever version you're using, the Hutter couple are either kind of the only characters that are, you know, like that are named or whatever, and like their friends, the Hardings, they're not fleshed out in the other Nosferatus much at all.
Yeah,
they're like real characters, and you fully like identify with them. Like Friedrich Harding, he's the dude I most identified with in this movie.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah,
I was like, bro, everyone is disrespecting you and taking advantage of you, and you're just taking it on the chin over and over again.
I can see how he would definitely feel that way as like a respectable landed gentleman of the time. Like, we're indulging these hysterical women, and, you know, it's just...
See, I don't even know. He didn't get to that point of being like dismissive of it until the end, near the end, because like the first like half of the movie, it was kind of like, all right, one of my bros, someone I really care about, who's kind of down on his luck, I'm putting his wife up.
Yeah.
Caveat, she's batshit crazy. Yeah. So I'm dealing with it because I love my bro and my wife is best friends with her.
Yeah.
So we're just going to let it happen, and it's cool. And he just is supportive. He's calling expensive ass doctors. He's doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then she's like, why do you hate me? It's like, bitch, you want to see hate? I'm going to backhand you after all I've done for you. Yeah. Like, she did him wrong.
You think so?
Absolutely. She took advantage of his hospitality for so long, got his whole family killed, It was directly her fault.
Yeah.
She knew. She told everyone, oh, yeah, I've been in a long-distance relationship with this guy forever. And she still stayed in the house with the little girls. She should have left. She should have gone home. We know they have a home.
Yeah, that's true. They did have a home. Well, that's... Yeah.
Ellen Hutter is the villain after Nosferatu. She's the second villain in this movie.
That's a hot take. I'm glad I called this a hot take.
She is a total shitter, though, like in the way she treats people. She even treats her husband bad.
Not when the vampire is manipulating her, she does.
I think she's pretty, I don't know. So she's like codependent and using him.
She doesn't want him to go there. She has a bad feeling about this whole thing, and she doesn't want him to go to it. I think if he had, because she wants him to not be so concerned with money, right?
Sure.
And be happy. They've got a nice little townhouse. You know what I mean? Like, sure, they don't have an estate like the Hardings, but they're doing okay. He's got a job at the firm. He's just starting out. She's happy with where they are and doesn't need him to be gone for months chasing after the vampire's money.
So you're telling me if you're like, you're a young guy, not old guys like us.
Yeah.
You're a young guy and your boss is like, listen, we're going to make you a full partner and you're going to be big baller. You're going to buy that house in the country that you want, the whole deal.
It's irresistible.
You have to go away for 3 months on a business trip, which is going to suck. We understand you're newly married, but I'm doing this for you so that you can be set up for the rest of your life. And you go home and you're like, hey, babe, check this out. We're going to be set up forever. And she's like, nah, I'm fine with this little townhouse in blah, blah, blah. Don't go away. I'll miss you. It's like, you'll miss me.
In the long run, this is worth it. Yeah. Oh, no, it's a foolproof plan on everyone's part. Knock and Orlok, they both have it because you'd have to be an idiot.
You'd have to be an absolute idiot.
And then, like, the same thing when he gives him his Faustian pact.
Yeah.
And he's like, the language of my forebears.
Sign this contract you don't understand. This is definitely not what you brought to me.
Yeah. And then it's like, and he comes out with the sack of gold of some ancient currency. And
I did like rich Nosferatu better than poor Nosferatu.
Yeah. And it's like, that's probably, like, even now, someone dropping like a Crown Royal bag full of gold coins on the table.
Oh, that's a lot of money.
It is like unimaginable wealth for like a poor person.
Yeah, they're like, sign the business deal.
Yeah. It's all in ancient Dacian, which is even in the 1800s a dead language. And it's like, just formalities.
You know? Yeah, he literally sells him his wife.
Yeah, it's like, can I have a solicitor look at this? You know? Yeah, you're a captive of this vampire. At this
well, yeah, and Hunter's
been anything to get out of
He's been getting fed on for days.
Oh, yeah.
He's just totally addled.
He never has the moment from the Murnau where he's like, oh, a mosquito got me. Like, there's no mistaking these bites for mosquito bites.
Yeah, the castle in Transylvania, I really liked that castle. I thought that was really cool.
It's gorgeous, and it's the interior's the same castle that Herzog shot in.
Okay, perfect.
And it's like they tried to be careful to avoid the same rooms and the same angles and stuff, so as to not recreate shots. But there is, like, you get there and you're like, yeah, this is Nosferatu's castle. I've seen it before, and I recognize it. I'm
definitely going to go to Transylvania and see some vampire shit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. But these are in Czech.
Yeah. I was looking into vacation destinations, and it's massively cheap to do stuff. The only expensive part is the airfare. After that, it's cheap as hell in Romania.
Oh, yeah. I would, yeah. My dad went... last year to Romania and Castle Bran and all of that. And I definitely want to do that stuff.
Should be pretty cool. All right, so we're kind of talking about the way the movie looks at this point, of the visuals. I really liked the practical effects for Orlok himself.
Yeah.
His hands looked real and gnarly and extended, but not comically so.
Yeah. like real fingernails.
Yeah.
Like as long as like not terminal lengths, because that's like crazy long and curly, but like not as exaggerated either as like some of the early ones. So that comes down to the prosthetic makeup design by David White. And Orlok, everything but eyes and soles of feet are covered in prosthetics. It's a full body get up.
He was following after his dad, Baron Harkonnen.
Oh yeah, that's true. Those Skarsgårds, dedicated. They'll go for it, man.
Yeah,
incredible makeup.
This movie, probably in the makeup and category, but in many categories, this really needs to get some Academy Award nominations.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. Like, cinematography is beautiful. It's shot so well.
And that's Jaron Blasky, I think is how you pronounce it, or Blaschke, who is the cinematographer on Eggers' other films, like The Northman.
Okay. That makes sense. It looks like an Eggers movie.
It does. So I listened to a podcast today where they described Robert Eggers as being the doom metal Wes Anderson.
Okay.
And that totally tracks, because it's the same 35 millimeter, the big square. It's not a widescreen movie.
Yeah.
And most shots are symmetrical. Mm-hmm. And so it is very, like, the Wes Anderson-ness of it did jump out at me watching it. But it is not whimsical like a Wes Anderson movie. It is just dark.
Yeah, this movie, this is definitely doom metal Nosferatu. He is the most grim of all of them by far. Yeah,
and Jarin, they shot on film, and they designed special filters to block out certain wavelengths of light, depending on the shots, like in certain colors.
So they didn't do this digitally?
No, this is shot on film.
Wow.
I believe. If I'm wrong, get at me in the comments, but I believe they shot this
like Attack Dogs. Get at him.
Shot it on film, and used filters to block out the colors they don't want.
So old school movie magic.
Exactly. And it gets close to black and white. Like, if we talked about Tim Burton doing that with Batman Returns, this is closer to black and white.
Absolutely. It makes it feel old-timey without being actually black and white.
Yeah, and oppressive. Like, and dire. It's just... It's gloomy as shit.
Yeah, it's extremely dark. And it not just visually, but just the whole thing feels like darkness.
Yeah, it's wild, man. And let me rattle off a few more names, because I always do this. The production design is Craig Lathrop, costume design by Linda Muir, art direction by Paul Giordani, and I already mentioned the prosthetic makeup. So everyone's knocking it out of the park, and I believe these are all people returning from the Northman.
Okay,
Eggers has built a team.
Northman was one of my favorite movies that I've seen in the last few years. It's amazing.
It's interesting because Eggers is just a bit younger than us. He's like 40, 41.
Okay.
Listening to interviews, he's grown up on all the same stuff as us.
Okay.
And like the Northman,
he probably had an older brother. That's
probably. And he had a theater family. Like his mom, like one of his parents was like a Shakespeare professor, and the other parent ran a theater company.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he's deep in drama shit. He saw the original Nosferatu at 9 years old and staged a senior play in high school of Nosferatu.
That's cool.
This is a movie he's been sitting with since he was a little kid. And his movies, like The Northman is to Conan the Barbarian what this movie is to Coppola's Dracula.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And it's like he takes these sort of like these movies that we grew up with on VHS and does these elevated art house kind of versions of them.
Yeah, one of the things I was thinking when I was watching this movie with regard to like the way it was written, the way it looks and all of that is one thing that separates Nosferatu films from Dracula films is sometimes it feels like Dracula movies, not all of them, because I feel like Bram Stoker's Dracula bucks the trend I'm about to say is Dracula movies are not art house. they're very like you know you
They're
have
popcorn
Dracula Beyond. There's Dracula. What is it? Dracula 2000.
Yeah.
All of these Dracula movies that are, you know, they're supernatural thrillers or whatever. Nosferatu movies and Bram Stoker's Dracula, probably a few other Draculas too, are very, very art.
Yeah.
And I think that probably goes back to the original. The original is an art film.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And then Herzog's is an art film.
Oh, for sure.
It's like, I love that version. And so anybody who is a Nosferatu enthusiast, they're picking up on that arty nature, that beautiful aspect of the movie.
Yeah.
You're not just in it for the blood and the fangs and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's more like it's more of a vibe.
Yeah. Although there's plenty of blood and fangs.
Oh yeah.
Or maybe not fangs, but blood in this movie.
Yeah. There's more blood in this movie than in most previous ones. But it still feels like an art movie.
Oh yeah. And that's, I mean, I still haven't seen The Witch, but The Lighthouse and The Northman are all art movies, and they're all folk tales. Like, he's very into that sort of steeping everything in folklore and legend. You know, like, and that gets into, you know, they use iron stake instead of a wooden stake.
Yeah,
because that gets back to the old Eastern European legends.
Yes, I noticed that, and I absolutely loved it because the idea in a lot of those Eastern European and even like Northern European is that all of these supernatural beings are essentially from the same source or place. It's whether they're good or evil or whatever. Yeah. And cold iron is always a bane. Yeah, and I like that.
Yeah, and there's like the lady in the inn. It's not. I don't think it's one of the Roma people. I think it's a Christian person, but or she. No, it's the nun. The nun is the one that tells him about that the devil raised his corpse so that he could continue doing evil after he died. And you nail the vampire down with cold iron to pin the body to the ground, so it can't come back up. Whereas like a wooden stake would rot away. The iron will last a long time.
I love those those graves that are cages with locks on top. Those are really cool.
Yeah. Or the scene early, and this is unique to this movie, where Hutter follows the Romani people out to go and stake a vampire.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
That was a really cool sequence. I liked all of that stuff.
Yeah, and he had the chutzpah to straight up use the antiquated name, the gypsy name that you don't say in modern day, but they did at the time. This is a period piece.
Yeah, you know, and it's like I know I've used it probably a few times over the course of these podcasts, and part of the problem is that Roma people use it themselves so often, and
there's like TV shows with it in the name.
Yeah, it's very it's hard to make it into a sort of inward level faux pas when it feels so common, but I do also want to be respectful and not use a slur, you know, when it cause anyone harm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it feels like a low-level slur, like to me, and I'm not. I can't say that from an insider's perspective.
Exactly. Yeah,
it feels low-level by the way that it's used in pop culture. But yeah, I'm not going to be the one to be dropping it.
It got thrown out like in the last episode of Creature Commandos, like 2-3 times, and it's like well. It's obviously not an N-word, or we wouldn't be doing this. Yeah. Like cartoon characters wouldn't be using it. But it's a word you want to kind of tiptoe around, I think, or be sensitive to.
I think if you know someone from that culture and you can ask them about it, that'd be one thing, but I don't.
Yeah,
so totally. I'm just not going to bother.
I know. Yeah. I know European people and Eastern European people, and they definitely use it.
They say it a lot, but they also don't like those people.
Yeah, they use it like a slur, absolutely. So, like, use at your own risk. That's what I'll say about the G word.
Probably won't get you canceled, but it might get you looked down upon.
Yeah, totally.
I love those scenes with those people. How they
whatever they are called,
the traveling people or whatever. I just love those scenes because it reminded me of the Herzog movie so much.
And what I liked about this, and I just recently saw the Scream of My Blood, the Eugene Hutz documentary, and he's from that background and uses the gypsy word.
Okay.
And he talks about discovering in Ukraine, discovering that part of his family. And in the Soviet era, those people are the only people with any kind of color in the wardrobe and any sort of fun culture, because the Soviet culture is so oppressive, and it's about, we wear gray uniforms and we work in the factory. And that side of his family partied, and they played like that big triangle guitar and all of that stuff. And you saw the Romani people like this. They're very dour in the Herzog movie, and
everyone's dour, and they're the least dour.
Yeah, and they're partying in this movie, because they're about to go. They're psyching themselves up to go on a vampire hunt. That could go very badly. You know?
Like they had like a virgin on horseback kind of as bait for him,
and that, I guess, that comes from the Transylvanian folklore. That's something that you would do to find the vampire, is a virgin on a stallion, and lead them out into the cemetery, and it's going to lead you to the vampire.
Yeah, I thought that was. I was like, oh shit, are these people sacrificing their people to Orlok, like to keep them out of the village?
That's totally what I thought, but no, they were there to kill a vampire.
And then I was like, oh, they used her as bait, so she knew what was up, so she wasn't like being like I don't know, I don't like that.
I had the exact same reaction when they were like they're like a virgin on a stallion, and I was like, I don't like this.
This is never going somewhere good.
This is all bad. What's going to happen? And then they just they don't go and give her to the vampire. They go and kill a vampire. Yeah, much preferable.
I do like that they stole his horse. I thought that was amusing because he handed the guy the horse like, here you go. There was no
bargain.
There was where's the stable? Where can I pick my horse up from? I guess that's just because he's born rich and
he was relatively.
Not rich. He's used to that in wherever he's from in Germany. He's used to just handing your horse to somebody, a stableman or something.
Yeah. And from the point of view of the locals, besides the fact that you don't pass up a free horse, everyone warns him. Don't go there.
That's for his own good.
Nothing good will happen if you go there. So taking his horse and hopefully stopping him is helping him.
Yeah, I do like that scene a lot. It was considerably darker and more grim than the analog scene in the previous in the other movies. I also liked the carriage coming, and it was really, really scary. It was cool.
If you, because Eggers loves folklore so much, the carriage comes and gets him at the crossroads, right? And you're like, well, that's a devil's crossroads if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
You get in that carriage, that is the first step to selling your soul, if not already making the bargain.
Yeah, that's pretty much agreeing.
Yeah, that's it's because he's a modern civilized person that doesn't realize this. The devil always meets you at the crossroads because you have the choice of which way you're going to go. And he chose poorly. He chose the wrong road on the crossroads.
Yeah, I wonder if at a certain point, if a reasonable man would have just turned around, but he had so much to lose and all the time wasted.
And so much to gain.
Yeah.
It's, especially when you're a young person trying to establish himself, and he wants to pay off his buddy that's given him a loan to get afloat and all of this stuff. It's you do a lot of stupid things in the name of building a life for yourself. Lots of people have done. All the people that got on fucking steamer ships and came to America were doing something crazy and risky to build a better life for themselves.
Yeah, they're just straight up YOLO.
Yeah. So getting in a ghost carriage is not the craziest thing that you could do.
No, I was on board with Thomas Hutter the whole time, pretty much. Most of his choices.
He's a very sympathetic character. I think Nicholas Hoult is great in this role, and buy all of his decisions all the way through.
I feel like I get behind, I would say 90% of the decisions by all of the characters in this movie.
Yeah.
Everything they did was consistent with what a rational, logical person would do. And some of the ones that weren't rational or logical is explainable because they're being supernaturally tampered with, or they haven't slept in many days or whatever. Yeah. And so being irrational also makes sense.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if I don't think you ever lose sympathy with Aaron Taylor Johnson's character Harding. No. Even when he loses it, things are going very badly by the time he loses his composure about stuff.
Yeah, basically he's lost everything.
Yeah. I mean, by the time his family is all dead and he has the plague and is maybe turning into a vampire himself, things go very, very poorly for him. The category we normally would talk, we're kind of getting into casting, and we haven't talked about the audio.
The score was great for this movie.
So it's Robin Carolyn, who also did the score for The Northman. I've been listening to this since I've watched the movie.
Nice.
This is the sort of music that I will listen to. Like I'll play this score for a long time.
Yeah, it was really good. I want to watch this movie again. I'll wait and see it at home when it comes out. I'll probably buy it so I can watch it again and again.
Extended cut DVD coming. Ooh. I heard Robert Eggers mention that on a podcast. So
I would buy an extended cut. Prefer digital. Don't really want to have a physical copy. You just want the digital download. Yeah, I don't want a physical copy.
You need maybe clear off a bookshelf and make a DVD shelf.
Yeah, we have like a handful of DVDs in one of our cabinets that just never get watched because they're forgotten.
Shame in a big house like this to not have shelves full of DVDs.
I have shelves full of disc golf discs and shelves full of Warhammer models.
DVDs are way cooler than Frisbees.
No way, dude.
DVDs have movies on them, and you can do everything you could do with a Frisbee.
That's true. They are also Frisbees.
They are also Frisbees, yeah. And then sound design by Damien Volpe.
Okay.
And the sound design, and this is one of it makes me think of like Denis Villeneuve movies.
Yeah.
Where the music and the sound design is just a barrage through the entire movie. You're inundated with sound.
I liked how they emphasized a lot of the things about the Count. Like when he would inhale or exhale.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't need to. He's vampire.
Okay. Yeah.
But you have to in order to talk, because that's the mechanism of talking. And so he'll be like...
Yeah, he fills up.
And then start talking. And it's like, wow, this is thought out.
Yeah.
He has to fill... It's like filling up a bagpipe.
Oh, that's a great analogy. It is totally like that.
Because you can't talk if you don't have any wind.
Yeah. And Skarsgård worked with a vocal coach, an opera coach, actually, in order to lower his voice and then to speak from down in his throat, like Mongolian throat singing style.
Okay, yeah.
And that voice, like the first time you hear it, like when Hutter goes in and he's like, "Leave your conveniences over there," and he's like the rolled R's, and it is imposing. If someone talked to you like that, it's like, oof. I didn't forget, but I had forgotten that Bill Skarsgård was doing this character while I was watching it. I was like, who is this fucking psychopath? Yeah.
Like, who did they drag out of a Russian gulag to play this character?
Right. He's monstrous. And he's still, I think he's still got some of that crow muscle on him.
He's big and he wears a big jacket. I really like that jacket. It's super cool.
It makes him look like a vulture, because he has the hunched back and he's wearing, it's like a bearskin full length, like floor length coat with a big collar on it.
Yeah.
And then he has the beaky nose too. And so he just looks like this carrion bird, but massive, like a bear-sized carrion bird.
Yeah, I absolutely enjoyed. So we're in the performances.
The casting,
is Bill Skarsgård has to be the first one because this might be the best Orlok.
Oh yeah,
it might be the best Dracula.
Are you pro or anti mustache? Because this has been dividing the internet.
So I would have rather. I'm okay with the mustache. I don't care. I'm neither here nor there on it.
Okay.
I just wanted to see some rat teeth poke out the bottom.
Oh, okay.
The mustache didn't bother me because it felt Eastern European. Like it really seemed culturally appropriate to have a big ass mustache.
And the look is very steeped in that. And like Eggers and Skarsgård have both said, like, look at any portraits of a Transylvanian nobleman from the time period. They have a big droopy mustache and they have the sides of their head shaved up high with the long hair on top. And that is the way Dracula is basically described in Stoker's novel, too. They talk about his big mustache and his far back hairline. And
even his the fashion contributes to that because on his big jacket on the breast, there's horizontal in the historical garment, because I have one, they're actually horizontal strips of silk that are sewn. That way when you close the big lapels and button it all the way up, they go across your whole chest. That is so Eastern. It's all the Slavic countries have that garment is so Slavic. It's so cool. Like I have a Kievan Rus variant, but it's the same fashion touches. And the mustache matched the jacket, matched the haircut, matched the accent. So I was immediately like, oh, okay, so they're going for historically accurate Eastern European vampire. Got it. So I didn't even hate the mustache. I just wanted rat teeth.
You just wanted the rat teeth. But I think it's probably... that's something that probably doesn't feature in the folklore version of vampires, and therefore doesn't feature in the movie because he always, errs on the side of tradition, and
he wasn't doing an homage. He was doing kind of a faithful retelling, but
and
because Stoker was a folklore student himself.
And I always sort of, because I love the book so much, bump up to the fact that so few Draculas have a mustache. And it is like, I think the way this looks so much like I would imagine the Dracula Stoker describes, who is a walking corpse with a big droopy mustache. It's like, yes, this is at least the first phase of Dracula. Not the pre-London part of the novel.
Absolutely. This Dracula, like, I love Christopher Walken and I love Bela Lugosi. They're absolute icons in the Dracula world. But I think Bill Skarsgård is now, along with Bram Stoker's Dracula, like he's in the conversation.
Oh, for sure. And
he's a top tier Dracula.
Yeah, and you're not on the TikTok.
No.
But my TikTok feed, and part of this is algorithm, it knows what I want to look at. My TikTok feed went hard all the time after this movie came out. I see so many videos of people doing the Nosferatu voice.
Oh, God.
Which means, like, this has become...
You have your sound on when you're doing social media?
Like for TikTok videos.
Oh man, if my phone makes a sound like at all, I want to like throw it in a river. No sound ever unless I have my Bluetooth headphones on.
I don't have the sound on like when I'm looking at it in bed in the morning because that would be rude because my wife is still asleep.
She can wake up.
Yeah, but
she probably won't hear this. Otherwise.
I will get jabbed. I will get jabbed, and harsh pre-coffee words will be shared with me.
Nyack!
Yeah. Stop it! So, but yeah, you have to have your audio on for TikTok.
Okay, I've never been on TikTok. Yeah. It's about to get banned anyway. No reason to start.
Right. Yeah. It's a new year, new day.
All right, we gotta.
My point is, this has already become a generation's Dracula for sure.
Yeah, this is the Zoomers version of Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yeah. Yeah, in 20 years, they'll make their own.
Yeah, and it'll be inspired by this. So I got next up Nicholas Hoult as Thomas Hutter. We mentioned him before. Great job.
I love
this. Is a really good performance. I really enjoyed his take on Hutter Harker. This is a good character.
He is, I think, in like 19th century Germany, about as woke a husband as you're going to find.
Absolutely.
He's doing his damn best to understand his wife. She's got problems, and he's trying to do the best stuff for her. But he is still dismissive and doesn't take her dire warnings seriously. But like, he becomes a full-on believer when there's no other choice, right?
Yeah.
After he's been sucked by the vampire a few times, and
he had to have nuns heal him.
Yeah. I love that the nun healing worked.
Yeah, because they can't pierce the walls of the church.
Yeah,
the
and
evil.
That's, again, very folkloric, and that is that's an integral part of the myth, right? He escapes the castle and ends up in the convent where he's nursed back to health before he comes home. But they made it integral into that is why he doesn't succumb to the count fully.
Yeah, absolutely.
They cleanse him, and then that's why Harding, who never gets cleansed, does ultimately become a corpse humping maniac by the end.
Yeah, they kind of did that off screen, thank goodness.
Thank goodness. I felt real bad. I felt real bad for him. And
he's like, one last time.
His whole beautiful family. It was, oof, that was rough. But this is Nicholas Holt's moment.
All right.
I've mentioned this before, I think on the Monkey Man episode. Whoever did the casting for the show Skins, the old British like Y2K era teen drama show, superb. Every kid from that show has gone on to have an incredible career.
This dude looks so British, it's painful.
It is funny for a cast that is like 90% Brits plus like 2 Americans and a Swede.
Yeah.
To be all playing German or Transylvanian people. It's like, it's a very English cast.
Yeah.
And all doing English accents. Even the Americans are doing English accents.
Yeah, because they're not speaking in German and subtitling it. So they're like, well, okay.
Yeah.
They're using like Herr and Frau and stuff, but whatever.
But all very British.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nick Holt, love the guy.
Yeah. So I got Lily Rose Depp as Ellen Hutter.
Yeah, I gather we have different takes on this. I think she's incredible in this movie.
I think the performance is pretty good.
Yeah.
I didn't really like the writing all that much of the character because I felt like it was overwritten. And actually, I just feel like if they're going to introduce the fact that she's like some sort of magic lady, they really could have done a little more with that in the first half of the movie, and because it feels a little data dumpy
when she talks about it at the end.
Yeah, and it just kind of feels a little weak. I liked the performance overall. I'm not sure she's the best of this role that I've seen. I think she was all right. There might just be a little bit behind that last name.
I think her physical performance with the contortions and like the body work and stuff is incredible.
I don't think that's overly unique. Like physical performance is, I mean,
that stuff's like the stuff she does, like the Exorcist stuff on the bed, like where she like fully like goes up in that crazy backbend. Like that's not lightweight work. Like that's intense physical performance.
I just don't think this was a standout performance in the movie because she's competing with really the two standout performances for me are Bill Skarsgård and Willem Dafoe.
Oh, okay.
Like she just isn't on that level. She's just not on that level.
I don't know that I think I don't think I agree. I think she is on that level. I think she has like 2 monologues in this movie that are like people are going to be doing them for years.
I think the character is good and she is good. I just don't put them in that great category.
Okay. Well, moving on, we get to your boy Kraven the Hunter, Aaron Taylor Johnson.
So I also
Friedrich Harding.
I put this in the same level as that Ellen Hutter level. It's a good performance. It's not great. It's not special, but it's good.
He's always solid, and I think he plays the straight man to a crazy movie really well.
I just identified with the character because I felt like he was continuously trying to help everyone like the whole time.
Yeah.
And then he got done dirty by the end, and
he loses everything.
His friends turned on him basically. And it's just like, man, everything he did all the way through the whole movie was like good guy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's a period piece, so he's dismissing some stuff and whatever. But generally, he's a good dude, and he loses everything, and people think lowly of him. It's like, ugh.
It's brutal.
He gets a total nice guy's finish last.
And then he doesn't buy onto the whole thing until his homie shows him the bite marks, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, it is real. It is happening. I've been sucked on. And he shows him the marks, and he's like, well, now that a man I know told me, I have to believe it.
Well, I mean,
to be fair, Willem Dafoe has been disgraced because he's an alchemist.
So, like, if some crazy ass guy or whatever, some fringe whatever weirdo came and was like telling me some crazy supernatural stuff, I'd be like, all right. But if you came and told me, it'd be very different.
It is. It totally makes logical sense. I went to his crazy man house. He was trying to turn coal into gold when I got there. He told me to untie the crazy person and stop sedating her. He's told me nothing but crazy
and
stuff.
She stayed doing crazy shit.
And she stayed crazy. And she didn't go uncrazy because I untied her. Like, he makes total sense. And then finally his family is dead. He has nothing left, and his best friend shows up and is like, this stuff is all true. You do finally hit that perfect math where you're like, okay, now I have no choice but to believe it, because to not believe it, then I have nothing.
Well, then it's
for.
Irrational at that point, because all signs point to it being the truth.
While we're here, what do you think about Aaron Taylor Johnson as James Bond? Because he's always one of the people that's attached to that role.
Well, not anymore. Now that Kraven the Hunter tanked,
I do think that cost him.
It cost him a lot. Like I haven't seen Kraven because no one has.
Yeah.
But also, I just don't. I'm not really. I'm interested in that movie. Kind of as an idea, but
I think when it hits Netflix. That's what I call a sick day movie, because I don't care if I fall asleep while I'm watching it. So I'll put on Kraven the Hunter someday when I have the flu. Like that's the level of interest I have in it.
I watched my first comic book movie in a long, long time recently,
which one?
So I probably won't watch Kraven the Hunter. Deadpool and Wolverine.
Okay, not bad.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a good time with that movie.
If you want a good Deadpool and Wolverine time, that movie delivers it.
I don't even care about Deadpool. He's not even interesting to me. I just want more Wolverine movies.
Yeah, that is.
I mean, truth be told, Cultists don't hate me, or maybe do. Just at me in the comments.
Yeah,
Deadpool has become the nerd self-identifier for being basic. If you have that sticker on your car or whatever, you're just a basic bitch nerd. And I'm like, okay, whatever. The humor's not actually very funny. It's kind of okay.
I like the first one. I like the first Deadpool movie quite a bit. And then diminishing returns.
At a certain point, it's just like, if you're still rocking the Deadpool merch, I'm just looking, I'm like, okay, whatever. Dweeb.
I basically
moving on.
I do agree. Like, that is one of those stickers that I see on your Kia Sorrento or whatever it is.
Whatever.
I see Deadpool. If I see it, this is the way. There's nothing against the Mandalorian. That shows a lot of fun. But if you've got Deadpool and Grogu and
a Decepticon sticker,
that whole thing, like, I just go like, oh. Like, none of this works for me.
Yeah, I'm not into that. I'm not into any of that.
Yeah. But speaking of Deadpool and Wolverine, Emma Corrin is up next as Anna Harding on my list.
Yeah.
I totally didn't recognize her as Cassandra Nova from Deadpool and Wolverine. I kept thinking, who is this woman I've seen in another movie?
Yeah, when she came on and she started like with her like, you know, acting and the scenes were playing out, I'm like, man, she's really good.
She is. She's great.
There's something about her. She might have a future in this business.
And she, you know, not to make this the Deadpool and Wolverine podcast, she's fucking great in that movie too.
Yeah.
She's awesome. And like,
I thought she was better than Lily Rose Depp.
I don't think she has.
She doesn't have the scenes to let her flex as hard.
Yeah.
But the scenes she is in, even with Ellen Hutter, she's the focal point of the scene.
Oh, interesting. I'm not going to necessarily disagree with that.
I thought she was the best leading actress in this movie. She, you know, supporting actress.
I absolutely, if you said, like, if you flipped the roles, do you think Emma Corrin could have done
100%
everything that Lily Rose Depp did?
She may not have done all the exact contortion stuff, but there would have been physical acting that would knock your socks off. I think Emma Corrin would have been my choice for the Hutter. Yeah. I thought she was just the better actress here. And it's not that I hate Lily Rose Depp. I just think the other ones are really above average, you know?
Okay. I absolutely think Emma Corrin would have killed it in either role.
Absolutely.
So I
hopefully she can do that, you know, bigger roles as we go forward. Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
The best. He's probably, I mean, I'm glad he didn't he wasn't Orlok, because he was slated for Orlok for a little while in this.
So this movie has had a 10-year road to production, basically, because this was the movie that Eggers wanted to follow The Witch with, and he wanted to cast, allegedly, Willem Dafoe as Orlok, and M. Skarsgård as the Hutter role.
Oh, okay. I could see that.
Yeah. And so I think we got probably the stronger arrangement of casting by doing it this way.
He is absolutely amazing in this role. I feel like, I mean, it's Willem Dafoe.
I love him so much.
He steals every scene.
Yeah.
I mean, there's very few actors that could be on stage with Willem Dafoe and not get upstaged.
Yeah.
It's just hard.
And he brings a little bit of humor into it at a time when you desperately need to lighten things up a little bit.
And it's kind of like a manic weirdness humor, and I like that.
Yeah, it's very, I think, informed by Anthony Hopkins' version of Van Helsing.
Yeah.
Who is also kind of the crazy old man version.
Yeah, Hopkins was awesome, and Dafoe does a great job with the character too.
Yeah.
I love all the tropes in this movie, and I think he knocks the Van Helsing trope out of the park. Just does it so well.
Yeah, I like so he's always the keeper of knowledge. Someone pointed this out on a podcast, that he's always the keeper of knowledge in Robert Eggers movies.
Okay.
Like he's the shaman in the Northman.
Yes.
And he's the Wickie in the Lighthouse. And he's that guy, the wise man in whatever the fable is.
If you want to use the historically accurate term, he's the Sith Mater.
Oh, I was going to say the Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No.
Yeah.
Seither is the feminine art of magic, and that's why he wears feminine garments. And
in
he's,
the Northman,
and he's a man, so he's the Sith Mater.
Yeah.
So anyway,
it's Willem Dafoe.
He's amazing. He does such a good job.
He's my favorite all the time.
The reason this movie is so remarkable is because it has one of the best Dracula Orlocks and probably the best Van Helsing.
Yeah.
And so, and then we're about to get to him, Simon McBurney as Herr Knock, one of the best Renfields ever.
The scariest Renfield, for sure.
Yeah, he's gnarly.
And when they stake him, I don't, like, if it was any of the other Renfields, I almost would feel bad.
No, this guy's a black magic practitioner.
I'm like, oh, it's good. Like, if you were going to put an iron stake in the wrong guy, this was the wrong guy to put an iron stake in.
Providence.
Yeah. It was Providence. I was like, yeah, I didn't feel an ounce of remorse. And then when Professor von Franz comes and sledgehammers the stake down for good measure, it's like, yeah, make sure that fucker doesn't get back out, because he is like a vile wretch.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know if I was von Franz, if I'd be hitting the back of the thing or the head with that hammer.
Just hammered.
Just hit him in the head. He's still a dude.
Yeah. And then pour oil over everything and just light it all up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's so good. Before we get away from Willem Dafoe, I love the thing he says to Lily Rose Depp, where he's like, in heathen times you would have been a priestess to Isis.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, and I was like, that was really beautiful. Like, he's the only, because he has the grimoire, like you said, he grasps no one else can kill the vampire but her before anyone else does.
Yeah, he says he's an informed tourist in her world.
Yeah, and he's like, I'll take the guys and get him out of your way so you can do the hard work. And like, yeah, and that was just such a, I don't know, it was really beautiful and because it's a big performance a lot of the time. But when it needs to be soft, it gets soft too.
Yeah.
Like, and it was beautiful.
He just makes eye contact with her. He's like, unspoken, monster fucking. She's like, yep, monster fucking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a tough road. And I like monsters, believe me. I saw, like I said, Marsha and the Howling. I would have folded like a paper airplane immediately.
Yes. So
we've got one person left.
Is that
Ralph Ineson?
Ralph Ineson as Wilhelm Sievers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Also very good. Yeah.
Yeah, not stand out, but good.
Yeah. And it's a small cast, so that really is everybody.
Yeah. So tangentially, is this also Bride of Dracula? Is it because he marries her, right? They sign the paper. They're one. It's the whole deal. Like he's now. Yeah, this is.
He bought her from her husband, and she
willingly entered a union with him.
It was a 2-part deal, like, because it couldn't be against the husband. Couldn't just sell her and he takes her. She needed to submit to him because he's gross like that.
Yes.
And it's black magic. So yeah,
best kind of magic.
She does become his bride, and she's wearing a wedding dress. Like,
so there you go. Yeah, it's this is Bride of Dracula.
It is Bride of Dracula. So normally this is where we talk personal highlights. You said you didn't have one picked out, but I bet you got something.
I would say that my favorite part of the movie is very similar to Nosferatu the Vampire. It's the whole sequence, basically from when he leaves the inn and goes and meets Dracula.
Yeah.
And they have that intro scene where he cuts himself. I love that whole thing because it's so ridiculously freaky and scary and dark and sinister.
And why does it work over and over again?
It's just crazy that's my favorite scene in multiple movies because it's just done so well. Like I went through a lava tunnel in Hawaii recently, and I was walking towards it. Yeah. and like it got dark because you're down in a thing, and I was like, this is like Nosferatu when he goes to that tunnel. And I look, so it's like, it's always on my mind.
Yeah.
Like, and I saw this movie after I got back. I saw it today. So that was, I love that scene all the way up into, entering the castle, and you see that silhouette of Orlok standing in front of kind of the hearth or whatever. It's just, that's just the best part.
Oh, there's such good, all these great moments there. Him opening the door and just the shape of Orlok, like Michael Myers.
Yeah, exactly.
It is so long until we finally see him not in the shadow. And just that shape, and the shape leads Hutter up the stairs into the dining room, and he's like, "You're late, my servants have all retired.
Exactly. So like, yeah, you mentioned The Shape and Michael Myers, and I actually was thinking that when I was watching the movie, because we couldn't see his face, and it makes it even more sinister. I was thinking about Halloween. Yeah. Like, this is great horror. Like, Eggers likes horror movies.
Yeah, and like when he's he has him sit down, sit, eat, and he's sitting there at the table before he cuts his thumb, and Orlok is at the head of the table, and he's looking at him, and then he is behind him pouring his wine without either Thomas seeing him move or us seeing or hearing him move.
Just vampire.
He just goes from one end of the room to right behind you. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, this is scary. It's like, even though I've seen this exact scene, there's almost 200 adaptations of Dracula. We've seen this scene so many times, and it's still powerful.
It still works. Yeah. It still works. So what about you? What's your favorite moment?
I also picked that scene, but since we've talked about it in depth, I'm going to go to I didn't want to pick this one because it had...
The crypt scene where he has sex with his dead wife?
No, but it is a sex scene. The scene between Thomas and Frau Hutter, where they she's having a psychotic episode is basically what's going on.
She freaks the fuck out,
and she is going back and forth between being like sad and being manic and being angry, and it's really raw and real, and it culminates in a rough sex scene, and it feels very grounded in a sort of in a reality, like this is very much like a survivor of childhood sexual abuse, and what that sort of complex PTSD symptoms, like how they manifest, like the guilt and the shame and the lust and all of these things, like, and it's this roller coaster of a scene, and Thomas Hutter is like, what the fuck is happening through the whole thing? Like, he's just overwhelmed and not quite even keeping up with her mood swings throughout the whole thing. And like, that was the moment, like, my attention had been sort of dipping, I feel like, before that. And I was like back in at this point. Like, it's where the movie, I feel like, really gets its emotional teeth in.
Okay.
So it's not as fun as like the other stuff, which, like, when I'm in my car doing the Orlok voice, it's the stuff from those scenes. But this is where I think like the emotional meat of the movie is happening, is in these later scenes.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, I didn't dislike that scene, but I definitely wouldn't have called it out as a personal highlight.
All right.
So that's all right. So, I mean, what worked for you then?
We've talked about this, all these things, but just the cast, the cinematography, and the sound design and music, just to be quick about it.
Okay. Yeah. We can be quick about these.
Yeah. It is such an immaculately considered film. Like,
absolutely.
Everything is done with purpose and intention, and at a high level of craft.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say my number one, what worked for me, is the cast. Then also the cinematography and the way that it looks, which also includes the sets and the costume design. Oh, this movie is absolutely beautiful. It's the most beautiful Nosferatu movie. It's absolutely fantastic in all of those things. So what didn't work for you?
I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I did sort of, like, my attention dipped in the movie, and
there's about a 2/3 of the way in dip.
That is about where it is. I kind of pinned it to the Voyage of the Demeter ship part, as a place where I disengaged from the movie on some level, where I'm just like, I was locked in, and I get locked in again, but there is just this lull that happens where I was sort of like the fifth star disappeared for a little while.
It's because Orlok isn't on the screen.
Yeah, I guess he's in his box.
Yeah.
He's in a big crate with a huge wax seal on it. And
it's a fake.
And I unplug.
Yeah.
So that's a weird criticism because it's more like a period of time in the movie than like...
It's because you watch the TikToks, you got no attention span.
I have a short attention span. Yeah, my ADHD robbed me there. But it had a spot that it lost me, and it's somewhere in that vague vicinity. And so that'd be my... Didn't work for me. What about you? What didn't work for you?
So I have what I would call mini complaints or microaggressions, if you will.
Microaggressions? Yeah.
Because I like this
is where
movie.
You put 1,000 paper cuts on the movie?
I really, really liked the movie, but there are a few things that I just didn't think were great.
Yeah.
The shadow of Orlok has always been a thing.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely iconic. And I like that they played with that. And I like that they had the shadow open the door and things like that a couple of times.
And Skarsgård did the shadow work too.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. But then there's one where he is standing in his new German villa thing on the upper floor and he holds his hand up and then his hand goes over the city.
Oh,
and it's overly dark. It doesn't even look like a shadow. It's like a void on top of the city. You can't even see the stuff that's under it.
Yeah.
And it's ham-fisted. It's a hat on a hat.
Okay.
Like, it's too much. We get it. You've shown us that he has shadow magic.
Yeah.
You could have done this so much more artfully if you literally used a reflection. You have him cast his hand over and his hand, the shadow of his hand goes over the reflection of the city in the glass over that house, and it would have been so much more elegant, and it wouldn't have been hat on a hat. Like, this is too much. It wasn't cool anymore. It went too ham-fisted.
Okay.
That stuck out to me. That actually took me out of it. I was like, whoa, that's lame, actually. This is my first I don't like this of the whole movie.
Wow. Okay.
And that was all. He's all the way in Germany at that point. I had no complaints until that point. Everything
deep.
else was
that is deep
dope.
in there.
And then I think that there was some issues. Maybe it's with editing. And maybe the extended cut will fix this, where with the Ellen character, how she just says nothing and then data dumps with, oh yeah, I'm a witch, or whatever she is, a psychic or whatever,
a somnambulist.
Like, I just think that was not well done. It should have been, there should have been more earlier, and they could have made it more interesting. There was no show. It was all tell. And I don't know. I just didn't like that part. It didn't sit right with me because the scenes with her are pretty good.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I just think that they were trying to come at it for too many angles. I thought the idea of the real estate guy reaching out with black magic and then Orlok wanting to come there because they don't believe in vampires.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
Yeah,
and so yeah,
I think it's not my point of view, but I think there's going to be other people that feel that same way. Like, I think because I had a chance to talk to some of the other cultists, and Cultist James is probably close to your opinion on that. He seemed also a little more iffy on the Lily Rose Depp of it all.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm anti-nepotism in general. I just don't think that just because someone has a famous name, they should get big jobs.
I don't know, but then we also lose our Skarsgård probably.
Oh, that's probably true. He was amazing.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got.
That's what doesn't work for you.
That's
interesting.
It.
Yeah.
Little things.
So, final thoughts and rating?
I think I'd be nitpicking if I didn't give it 5 stars because it's one of the best vampire movies, and vampire movies are one of my favorite genres. Yeah. So I'm going to give it the 5.
I concur. I am also giving it a 5. I think my Letterboxd score is probably a 4.5. but by the standards of our podcast, this is a 5-star film by far.
It's definitely outdoes any of the 4 stars that I can think of.
Yeah,
by a fair amount.
It is just on another tier above what constitutes a 4-star for me.
Absolutely. It's the best Nosferatu movie, probably. I mean, right behind Herzog. I mean, the thing is they're very different. They're very, very different. I think Herzog is a better art filmmaker.
Yeah.
This is a better horror film.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's true.
And I appreciate them both quite a lot.
It's interesting. So I've seen a lot of reviews of this movie, most of them glowing. The negative ones all kind of go like, the craft level is very high, but why are we making another Dracula movie?
Because Dracula is eternal. You have to. It's an eternal myth.
Yeah. Or it's beautiful to look at, but has no emotional core to it. And I also don't agree with that.
I don't either. I sympathize with so many of these characters.
Yeah. I think they're all sympathetic. Even Ralph Ineson's doctor is sympathetic.
Yeah.
Probably not Herr Connacht.
He's not, if I could get a demonic patron to give me powers, I might think about it.
Maybe.
But he didn't get any powers. He just got crazy.
He wanted to be the Prince of Rats.
I know, that would have been cool. I want a movie about the Rat King.
Yeah. Too late. Professor Franz put him into that like hot burning oil. Well, shall we take a break and then get into our year-end favorite?
Sounds good to me.
Before we delve into our year-end faves, we ask that all initiates of the cult follow us on your favorite social media platform at Nightshade Cult.
If you've enjoyed this content, help us grow the cult by sharing it with like-minded people and leave a review, comment, thumbs up, ring the bell, subscribe, and share it on your Facebook feed.
Yeah, we love chatting with the cultists and the comments. We love the direct messages, but comments in the feed are probably more useful.
Well, not only will we answer just like a private chat, but also it will help boost us in the algorithm because the whole engagement thing. So we're going to do our year-end favorites. If you're new to the cult and you haven't listened to previous years, we have a bunch of categories, and we're going to say what our favorite thing is from the category and maybe a couple of honorable mentions, but we don't discuss honorable mentions. They're just said, and we move on.
Yeah, we
do
a little tangent. I really, because it was kind of an overpacked episode, I held myself back on honorable mentions.
I don't have them in every category. Yeah. I just have them in ones where I had a hard time deciding.
Okay. Yeah. Likewise.
So first one, album. What you got?
This is, I feel like, like Bob Marley, this is my redemption song.
Ooh.
Last year I picked something that I've kind of kicked myself over all along because I picked the cool choice and not what the choice that the data showed me was the truth.
Ooh, what were they?
Because I picked Harvest by Poison Ruin as my album of the year, which fucking I stand by that. I love it. But the thing that I actually listened to the most per the data was Metallica's 72 Seasons.
Okay, it's a good album too.
But an uncool choice.
It's not cool.
It's not a cool choice. Yeah. And so this year, I'm going to keep it real and actually give the album that I listened to the most, which is Songs of a Lost World by The Cure.
Okay, I listened to that several times.
Yeah, so that dropped on November 1st. And for my money, this is the best Cure album since like Wish, like going back
for a long time,
going back to the 90s.
But it's polarizing. Some people don't really like it that much.
Maybe it's just because we did, like, at the beginning of this last year, we did a 3-episode dissection of the Goth trilogy. Mm-hmm. This is hearkening to my favorite period of The Cure.
And cultists that listen to us on YouTube, you can't find them on those 3 episodes on YouTube, but you can on Spotify or direct download anywhere podcasts are found. And they're good ass episodes.
I know.
Lots of people have listened on Spotify.
Yeah, the one on 17 seconds I think was our most popular episode on Spotify. I stand by those episodes. They were a lot of fun. Yeah,
it's just YouTube just struck us down.
Yeah. And this, it was just kind of perfect timing because we had gone in on those albums and this album is in conversation with those albums.
Yeah, it feels very faith adjacent to me.
Yeah, and it is also, but it is very much a middle-aged lyricist. Like, this is not teenage Robert Smith, angsty Robert Smith. This is like a 60-something, married man Robert Smith, and it is the angst of a middle-aged man.
Absolutely.
And it's the first album. It was their first album in 16 years, and it was their first album since The Head on the Door, where Robert Smith was the sole songwriter on all of the songs. Mm-hmm. And it feels just very personal to him. And I don't know, like,
the vocals really speak to me in this one.
Yeah, and
they're mournful.
It's like it just was a return to form in an authentic way, like not in the sort of way where sometimes a nostalgia act will become a pastiche of itself.
Yeah.
This is not The Cure doing The Cure. Like, to me, like, that's Blood Flowers is The Cure doing The Cure.
But it's a good album. It's all right.
It's all right. It's not. This album is better, in my opinion. And it just really landed big time with me.
Interesting.
Do you want my runner up now, or do you?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. And so my runner up, my other most listened to, was the new Amyl and the Sniffers album, Cartoon Darkness.
Okay.
They kind of, in the pandemic era, the 2020, Amyl and the Sniffers came along and sort of relit my punk rock fire in my heart.
Wow.
And I'm all the way in the bag for these Aussies. And they're in that punk rock phase where they're reckoning with fame, which is always a tough place to be when you're an underground artist and all of a sudden you're on like TV shows and stuff.
Yeah.
And punks love to eat each other, like, and like crabs in a barrel. You start to get to that upper level. The punk rockers that pushed you up want to pull you back down, and this is the album of Amy wrestling with how do you go to being an international rock star from being a local punk. And I've played the album a ton, and I like them quite a bit. So what about you? What's your album of the year?
So it's interesting because I'm also going with a new release of a band that I've been a fan of for 25 years.
Okay.
This is Opeth, The Last Will and Testament. I've been off the Opeth train for a while now.
Oh, you were a big supporter
because
of Opeth.
I've been an Opeth fan since. If you're an Opeth fan, you know that they've done like 16 albums or something. I got in album 3. And of course, immediately bought 1 and 2, and I was just a super fan forever and ever. At a certain point, membership in the band changed. There's only 2 members original, but Michael, the singer and guitar player who writes most of the music, he's still there. But at a certain point, he stopped growling.
Yeah.
And they mostly became very proggy.
Yeah.
They didn't do much metal anymore. And I kind of fell off at that point because I like prog rock. But if I'm going to listen to prog rock, I'll just listen to Rush or something. Yeah. I don't know. This new album, The Last Will and Testament, so it's the first album in 5 years, but it's the first album in almost 20 years where he's actually gone back to the death metal growl and death metal, in European death metal, if you're a connoisseur. Instrumentation.
Not Florida death
God,
metal.
no Cookie Monster. And this is also a return to form with the idea of a narrative concept album, which the last one they did for that was 1999 Still Life, of which that is a masterpiece. So really, I'm I'm all in for Opeth doing their old Opeth shit again, but it's not Opeth doing a parody of what Opeth was.
Yeah.
This is Michael writing old school songs because he feels it in his soul.
Yeah.
With his new lineup. He still has the same bass player, Mendez, who's just fucking off the hook good. But he's got a new lead guitar player who's been with him for several albums, but he's not on the classic death metal records. And he's got, of course, a new drummer. And even though I love the old lead guitar player, Peter Lindgren, he's my fave. This Martin is really good. This is a great lineup, and this is a great album. I haven't listened to it as much as I probably should have, because if I'm honest with what the data says, what have I really been listening to, like for real, because I pulled that up, I've been listening to Gary Newman.
Oh, nice.
Just
so, I like that.
A lot of Gary Newman. He's my number one artist of 2024, and he didn't put out an album in 2024. So I'm all in on Gary Newman for...
Just in general or in particular Gary Newman album?
I've been listening to all of it. But most recently, I actually like his last album, like a lot.
Yeah.
It's super good. But then also like some albums from like the 2000s era, because Carrie was really into those.
Yeah.
So I've just been listening to all Gary Newman stuff like a lot. In my car, it's kind of a go-to driving music because cars, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Gary Newman, but he didn't put out an album this year, or it would be my number one album. Opeth is my number one album of this year.
Okay.
And I've also listened to that Cure album quite a lot too.
What about, because you mentioned prog and death metal, Blood Incantation.
Oh, I love Blood Incantation, for sure.
That album fucking rules.
I've seen Blood Incantation live, and they destroy.
Oh, yeah.
They can pull all of that shit off live, like, flawlessly. Those guys are amazeballs. Like, and top of tier skullet game. Yeah,
up there with Patrick Stewart and Dune.
yeah, exactly. So if you see a guy walk out on stage and he's got a skullet and a BC Rich guitar, you're like, oh, shit's about to go down.
Hell yeah. You know, so that is a funny thing because because you always do it, and so I have. I've gained the habit of also
evaluating the instruments,
identifying the guitars. Because I saw some grindcore band playing, and they had very expensive guitars, and I was like Kiesels or something crazy, and I was like, wow, like for a bunch of crusties, these guys have a lot of money, in gear.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, I do. You've given me the habit of paying attention.
It tells you something about the band when you see what they're playing.
Yeah, there's certain things like I never see like someone playing a Rickenbacker bass that isn't about the business. Like,
yeah, it's not pretty damn good.
Yeah, they're going to go out there and throw down hard. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. All right, so what do you got for your your favorite game of the year?
My favorite game of the year, and this has ended up being a stupidly controversial game, is Dragon Age the Veilguard.
Oh, that's just got the woke mind virus.
Yeah, it's so woke.
I didn't play it. I don't know.
It is a lot of fun. It's like if, and I'm maybe the problem is that I haven't played the previous Dragon Age games, although Cultist Corey has, and I kind of I told him he's like, how is it? And I was like, it's really great. I go, but it's woke. And he goes, they're all woke. All the Dragon Age games have always been woke. And I was like, I don't know, this one, they're in trouble for being woke.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, it seems like every big AAA game that I play, it's like,
woke.
It's woke. Like, you can have gay relationships and all this shit. It's like totally fine.
We're in the stupidest timeline. So anyways,
also, I don't think it's weird if you're having a gay relationship in a game if you're a straight person in real life. It's roleplay, dudes.
Yeah.
Just lean in.
I hooked up with River Ward one time in Cyberpunk.
Whatever.
And then he gave me the puppy dog eyes the next day when I said it was a one-time thing. Just happy. He was like, so V, what are we going to do more of this? And it was like, I got a thing with Judy. This was just, we saved that kid and we celebrated. That's all this was.
It is what it is. I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Yeah. So that's with V, that's true.
Exactly.
But anyways, Dragon Age the Veilguard. it's an action RPG. This is like what is it? The fourth game in the franchise from BioWare and Electronic Arts. It's like if like Assassin's Creed or God of War copied the homework of Baldur's Gate.
Ooh, that actually sounds good.
Yeah, it's an action RPG, but
is it turn-based combat?
It's not turn-based combat.
Okay.
It's like
just rolling and button mashing
combat and switching weapons and telling your companions what to do and like that sort of thing. And you have multiple character classes.
Okay.
Like I played a dwarven rogue. And then you have this, like you have a party like Baldur's Gate that you manage, and you take on different missions with you, like story missions that work out their storyline, and then main missions that move advance the storyline of the main game.
I have to play that game.
Yeah, it is so much fun. Like I loved playing this game, and I guess I am infected by the woke mind virus. I don't get bent out of shape when people tell me their pronouns. It doesn't I was like, oh, crash out, I'm leaving. It's just, to me, it's like, this is such a little speed bump. There's one character that's one of the main party that's a non-binary character, and their gender identity is a big part of their personal storyline.
Okay.
If you have such a big problem with it, you can be an asshole and be like, I want to identify as non-binary. And you're like, well, fuck that, because it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, or whatever. You could be that person if you wanted to be, and you'll just have a bad relationship with that companion.
Okay.
So do that if you're a weak-ass person that can't handle wokeness. I had a shit ton of fun with Dragon Age the Veilguard, and so that's my game of the year. Although, you might have guessed, Cyberpunk 2077 is actually the game I probably played the most this year. It's just that came out many years ago.
Yeah.
It's just that good.
It is.
What about you? What's your game of the year?
All right. So I like to break the rules on a lot of these categories.
You've consistently broken this one.
Consistently break the rules.
You've chosen Warhammer 40K.
Because it's a new edition.
And disc golf.
Yeah, because it was new to me.
Yeah.
So technically true. Correct. Okay, so I'm choosing relaunches and replays as my games of the year. So relaunch, first of all. So this is actually publication 2024.
Okay.
The 50th anniversary of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh.
Now, I'm not just saying this because I can technically choose D&D and be technically right. I wouldn't do that if the new books weren't actually the best versions of the books they've ever made.
Okay.
The new player's handbook is the best player's handbook they've ever made. And the last one was pretty fucking good too.
Yeah.
But the new DMG, let me tell you, this is so good. And I've been dungeon mastering for like 30 years, and I'm not just being facetious. This is a textbook, a how-to manual on how to dungeon master if you've never done it. Also, if you are an experienced dungeon master, there's a bunch of ready-made go-to tools and things you can use that are really useful for building stories, for building NPCs, campaigns, settings, adventures, the whole deal. The Dungeon Master's Guide is actually amazing. It's probably the best new book. And I've never really liked Dungeon Master's Guides in the past. They've always been useless.
The artwork and stuff on this, and then it's in the old school Greyhawk setting.
Yeah, they give you the whole setting. So the new D&D is great. And there are some stylistic changes that got some criticism, like you don't have half orc and half elf anymore. You just have, in the player's handbook, it's just orc and just elf.
So full on orc is now a standard
base race.
and not something you need to get the Volo's monster.
Yeah, absolutely. And the idea is, if you are a hybrid lineage character, you don't have to have special stats for that. You can choose the stats of the heritage you want. They got rid of the word race, and that's fine.
Okay. It's woke. Even Dungeons and Dragons, my reliably racist game, is woke.
The lead designer is gay, and he has been for 15, 20 years. Anyway, since the 2014 launch. So it's great. It's really good. Okay, so replays of your old favorite games. I just want to encourage everyone out there who's listening to this thinking of something to do.
Dungeons & Dragons is your pick. Okay, and then now we're into just fun.
I want to say everyone out there who's a gamer that has a favorite old games that you look upon fondly, go back and replay that shit. I did it with Cyberpunk. I did a whole new playthrough from scratch, and I loved the hell out of it. So good. That inspired me to go back and do a full, fresh install, clean playthrough of Fallout 4. I loved the shit out of it. Oh. I then was inspired to do it again with Skyrim. And then that went so well, I'm doing it with Baldur's Gate right now. Go play your old favorite games. They're still good. You probably will like it better this time because the stuff that's slow and you don't have choices, it's just story moving forward. You already know that story. You just click, 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 click. I know all the shit. Then when you get to the decision points, you can make different decisions and get yourself a lot of different branching plots. A lot of these newer, I wouldn't say newer, like Skyrim, not so much, but most of the other, they have branching stories that shut off other events depending on what you choose. Just choose different shit.
Yeah.
And you will have so much more fun.
I have, I went back to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I've started doing additional stuff, like the Phantom Liberty stuff with my original Cyberpunk playthrough. I probably am going to do not a complete playthrough, but I'm going to go back to Dragon Age the Veilguard. There is an early choice between go here or go here, and replay from that point on the other path. And
you're going to go to your old save point or just start fresh?
Just go to my old save point and play it out the other way. And it's most of the game. But I'll just use my same character.
So I mean,
I'm on board with this. I didn't used to be, but I'm with you on the replayable.
Yeah, you already own the game. It's free.
Yeah,
and you're gonna actually probably enjoy it as much, maybe even more than their first go through.
There is what's the thing? It's the thing Morpheus says in the Matrix.
There's something about like the comfort of
comfort of nostalgia. How nostalgia eases the anxious mind or something. It's like it's good with these games, Cyberpunk, Baldur's Gate. It is like revisiting old friends. Like
absolutely,
your companions. You're like, oh yeah, there's Gale. He's such a dildo.
And like I was ride or die with Karlach in my main first playthrough. Like she was my BFF. To the end, and I never even recruited Minthara at all. I killed her.
Oh, really?
So this time I killed Karlach with Will, and we pleased Mizora. And I'm ride or die with Minthara.
Oh yeah.
So and Gale, who I omitted from basically because he was annoying, but now I like him. It's fun. And
you're doing a full evil playthrough.
Yeah, I'm not going full evil because it shuts off a ton of things and options. Yeah. I'm doing hyper selfish. Okay. Slightly different.
Yeah. No, that is different.
Yeah. And it ends up being fairly evil, but mostly selfish.
But you kill the druids or no?
Actually, I decided to save the tieflings, kill all the goblin camp, and then rob the druids blind.
That's a nice middle ground.
Because I want Dammon to build me cool shit down the road. He's really good.
Yeah. And I do wish there was more, like, a more in-between option with the goblins.
Yeah, it's really binary. You have to really pick. And I was just like, I'm not willing to kill all the tieflings.
Yeah.
But I will kill all the bad guys because they're dicks to me. Yeah. That's my hyper selfish playthrough. Is if you're a dick to me, I'll probably kill you.
Yeah.
If you're nice to me, I probably won't.
And you killed Karlach. Oof.
Yeah, because Will told me she's a demon, and Will is my buddy, and I trust Will.
Yeah.
But also, you get like a cool magic item, like a red item, right off, and it's really good.
Have you? I'm sure you've seen the thing where you kill Karlach so that Will can get the armor or whatever from Mizora.
Yeah,
but then resurrect her and get both.
No, I haven't. Yeah, you can go back and resurrect her.
Yeah,
you just have to like pull her body out of the bag or whatever.
If you do it all very carefully and like not do a long rest and like.
I'm going to do bad things. Karlach will leave.
Object.
So will leave. So I assume Will, Halsin, and Karlach, they're just going to bounce as soon as I start making real mean decisions.
Yeah.
Like having Shadowheart choose to kill the angel lady and stuff. Like when I start doing that stuff, yeah.
That'll change a lot.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It's interesting. And Baldur's Gate wants you to try everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. They don't need to make new expansions because it's so replayable.
It's funny how many times I've gone back and done just endings.
Oh, yeah.
As new options become available. Because they finally, at some point, they made it so that if you were romance Lizelle, that you could leave with her.
Oh, nice. In my current playthrough, Lizelle's my lady.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, yeah. That's my boo.
Because she's mean as shit.
I love Lizelle so much.
Everyone's always like arguing, are they Team Shadowheart or Team Karlach? Nah, Lizelle.
All Lizelle, all the time.
She's better. What's that say about us?
I always said I'm susceptible to monster ladies. I already said that.
There you go. All right, so what's your favorite show of the year?
My favorite show of the year, and this is not a controversial choice, was Shogun on FX.
Oh, that's on that is such a popular show.
So created by Rachel Kondo and Justin Marks, who I believe they're a married couple, based on the 1975 novel by James Clavell. And produced and starring Hiroyuki Sanada. I was already like fully in the bag for Shogun. I read the book. I watched the old adaptation from 1980. I've seen a million times. And this is just like, when you talk about like Robert Eggers and how considered everything is, this is the ultimate considered version of Shogun.
Okay.
Like it is so, it's much more steeped in the actual history than the novel even really is. Right down to the dialect they speak, which is like an archaic, older form of Japanese. And it is mostly in Japanese. And it is from a mostly Japanese point of view. It doesn't necessarily center Cosmo Jarvis as John Blackthorne. He's not the central protagonist as much as Hiroyuki Sanada is as Toranaga. And so this show was just right up my alley. It's exactly what I wanted, and I'm far from the only person to think that, because it was nominated for 25 Emmys. Wow. And it won 18 of them. And they renewed it for another season, and there is not a second book. So we're freestyling from here. So it's very
fanfic.
It's very dangerous territory, but it is inspired by real historical events. Mm-hmm. So they have the actual history to work off of to write it. So I really don't know where we're going with this, but I'm in the bag for it. I'm along for the ride.
All right.
And then my runner-up came in like this. Shogun was at the beginning of the year, early enough that it got in on last year's Emmys. At the end of the year, The Penguin on HBO Max came along and fucking ruled. Colin Farrell's incredible in this, and it is Sopranos in Gotham City. It is cool. Such a dark, gritty crime series, and it was so good. It's just so good. But Shogun number one. What about you? What's your show of the year?
So I thought about this a lot. I've watched a lot of shows over the year, and my number one that I think I'll probably go back and do a rewatch of is Fallout.
Oh, on Amazon?
Yeah, it was really good, and I'm stoked for the next season. Walton Goggins is amazing. Ella Purnell. It's just like such a good cast, and I'm going to run a Fallout tabletop RPG because I bought the books and it's really cool after I watched the show, and it's really a great primer. If you haven't played the video games, they really pull off the campy vibe and the weird sci-fi really well in the show. It was just highly enjoyable. I think that it's a really good place to start if you've never played a Fallout game. Now, we're not going to get Fallout 5 for quite a while because that's right. Bethesda. They're just slow. But, But we
are going to get a new Elder Scrolls, right? Like that.
Sure, that's overdue. Way overdue. So as far as my honorable mentions go, I have to mention What We Do in the Shadows because it was the series finale. It's over. It's all done. The last season has
not been the best.
The last season wasn't as good as previous seasons. It was funny. I got some good laughs. It was a little bit more meta. Mm-hmm. They're kind of clowning on themselves in a lot of places, and that's fine. But it's one of my favorite shows overall just to put on. I love it. This is like, there are some people that like marathon rewatch Friends. Mm-hmm. I can marathon rewatch this show. Yeah, it's so good.
Nice.
And then two other shows I've watched recently. One is Dune Prophecy. Really liked it. And
okay, so I haven't watched that. You like it?
Absolutely. It's very good.
Okay.
And then Landman. Really great Texas oil man like kind of sort of crime drama with Billy Bob Thornton as the main character, and he's super good. Okay. Like, of course, he's an amazing actor. Yeah, it's just a really good, like, chill show. Like, chill to watch. It reminds me of Sopranos-ish, but if it was in Texas.
Okay. That wasn't even on my radar at all.
Yeah, check it out. I mean, if you like that kind of like a crime drama.
Yeah. Well, if you like a crime drama, watch The Penguin.
I haven't watched it because I hate superhero stuff, but are you saying it's worth it?
Oh, it's absolutely worth it. And The Penguin takes place immediately after Matt Reeves' The Batman.
Okay.
But it is not necessary for you to watch The Batman. However, when you start watching it, you will go back and watch The Batman.
Okay.
I would put money on it.
All right, so what's your movie of the year?
Movie of the year. I went and looked through everything I watched, and there was only one 5-star film that came out this year. I didn't see all that many movies, or as many as I often do, and that is Dune Part 2 by Denis Villeneuve. We did a whole episode of the podcast on this. I put Villeneuve in a similar category with Eggers, with Matt Reeves, with Guillermo del Toro. Mm-hmm. These very like singular visionary auteur directors.
Yeah.
I guess they're Gen Xers. Like they're all. Yeah, I looked it all up. Eggers is the youngest. He's like 41. Most of these guys I just mentioned are around 60, and late 50s. But I think Denis Villeneuve is like peak of his game. And
absolutely.
We've got Dune Messiah coming here in the future, and I'm just go back and listen to our episode on this movie to get our feelings on it. But I just thought this movie was superb. What about you? What's your film of the year?
This will be a quickie. Dune Part 2. Okay. I am a notorious Dune simp.
Yeah.
But this was so damn good. The original cast is great. Adding in Austin Butler as Fade Routha the whole Gedi Primes.
All the black and white stuff on Gedi Prime.
This movie fucks. It's so good.
So when we did the podcast, and we've had almost a year to kind of stew on it, have you come around to the story changes, like the stuff with Chani?
I'm good with it.
You're good with it?
Yeah, okay. I'm good with this. Dune Part 1 and Part 2.
You were feeling a little raw when we recorded.
Yeah, this is a great movie. Villeneuve is great. So I had two honorable mentions.
Okay.
Nosferatu. Yeah. It was great. 5-star movie.
That is probably my number 2 movie.
And even though not a lot of people liked it, Alien Romulus, I liked it. You may not like it, but I liked it.
Okay.
So that was an honorable mention. All right, book. What do you got?
The only book I read this year that was published this year was Rebel Girl by Kathleen Hanna. It's her memoir. She's one of the sort of founding members of the Riot Girl movement, which came out of Olympia, Washington. And this, she's a local girl through and through. Like the book is steeped in places that we have been. And she's just, 10 or so years older than us. And so it's, because I read a lot of music memoirs, it's very interesting to read one that I was so close to so much of it.
Yeah.
Like where it's all stuff that I kind of can remember, from my teenage years and was very close by, and landmarks I recognize. And I thought it was really fascinating and really illuminating. If you ever saw the documentary about her, The Punk Singer, that came out about 10 years ago, this goes much more in depth than that documentary does, but they're nice companions with each other. Cool. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And she narrates the audiobook, and that's always a plus for me.
Yeah,
I love
like
when the author reads their own audiobook. What about you? What's your book of the year?
So I listen to just a ton of audiobooks per year, and most of them are old. Yeah. But I did listen to one this year, and it actually prompted me to buy the related graphic novel and the whole thing, which was The Book of Elsewhere by Keanu Reeves and China Miéville. Oh, this is the novelization of set in an alternate universe of the Berserker universe.
Yeah.
And this book is really good. Like, China Miéville is a British author. He's very, very good. Okay. And Keanu Reeves he's kind of the creative engine here, and story development, character development, and all of that. It was really, really good. Like, it was not just scratching the ticket of being from 2024, but it was actually like extremely enjoyable. Nice. I really wish we could get more. It's, in a nutshell, it's about an immortal warrior, takes place in modern day, tons of flashbacks to recent, middle, and ancient history times where he's interacting with different things. And obviously he's an immortal, so there's a small supernatural element in the book, but it's super good. Honorable mentions: Impact Winter, which is an Audible only series, so they call it season 3, not book 3.
And you've recommended that before.
I've recommended it before. Okay. Season 3 came out on Audible this year, and it was super good. And then one that came out at the very end of 2023, and I read it in 2024, was The Narrow Road Between Desires by Patrick Rothfuss. It's the Kingkiller Chronicles fantasy series. Okay. And I've said it before, and I say it again. Rothfuss is an artist. His wordsmithing, his crafting with the language, it can bring you real feelings. Like, nice. He is a guy that evokes so much humanity from his characters, you can't help but identify with them. And I absolutely love the Kingkiller Chronicles. This is a interlude book. It's like 2.5 or something, and it's still pretty long, but it's really, really good. I love Patrick Rothfuss, even though there are some people that don't like him because he takes forever to put out his books, like George Martin. Well, but whatever.
If the books come out, then it's not like George Martin.
That's true, but he's like 5 years late on book 3. Okay. And he wrote an intermediate book in the meantime, just like George Martin, so people hate that. All right, so next up, what's your favorite podcast episode of us this year? What was our favorite? Your favorite Nightshade Cult?
I don't know if this is just recency bias or not, but I think it's the They Live episode.
Okay, I like that one.
Because I hadn't seen that film and had been on my list for a long time, and so finally seeing it, and it lived up to the hype that everyone puts on it. And the movie just stuck around with me for a long time, and we had a fun discussion.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's the kind of the two-part, did I enjoy the research part of it, and then did I enjoy the discussion that we had afterwards? And They Live delivered on both.
Nice.
Our They Live episode from November was my favorite. What about you?
So mine was episode 23, which was Alien. Space Road Truckers is what we called it. I really liked this episode because it's about a super good movie. It's a 5-star movie, 5-star episode.
A perfect film.
It also performed really well. Like it got hundreds of listens over the various platforms. It's above average for us. Honorable mention, episode 19, Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, which we titled Snakes as Weapons. This has almost over 3,000 plays across all platforms, 2.6K coming from YouTube alone. This episode 19 about Road Warrior just crushed it. I don't know.
Yeah, that one
we caught the algorithm wave and just surfed it.
The Furiosa reached her arm, like her metal hand down and pulled us up.
Yeah, so I mean, my favorite was Alien, but I'm proud of that Road Warrior episode because it did so well.
Excellent.
So now we have our last category, which we call the wild card.
Yeah, you go first because I still haven't thought of a wild card.
Oh, snap. And
well, I have one, but it's too spicy, and so I need a better one.
Oh, well, you can do whatever you want.
Okay.
Unless you're recommending your porno or something. Then
No. It's spicy like
a hot take.
You know, I don't want to recommend political violence, but
all right. Oh, yeah. And say no more.
Yeah, there was an interesting event that happened a few weeks ago.
Okay, so this is a total off the beaten path one.
Okay.
Start a new hobby as an adult.
Oh.
Because
that's something you're very familiar with.
I do it a lot, but not as much as I would like to. So here's the thing. When you get older, and when I say older, like older than 30, you stop making new friends and learning new activities that you intend to be good at.
Yeah.
You kind of just do the stuff that you've been doing and you just kind of coast forward, especially in your 40s.
Yeah.
You stop making new friends. You stop getting good at new things.
Yeah.
And you
stop forming new synapses in your brain.
And you just become like one of those boomer drones that listens to their lame shit that they are programmed by. No, don't do that. It's more healthy for you mentally and socially and emotionally if you learn new things and make new friends.
Yeah.
Last couple of years, I started up with disc golf, and that was awesome. I still like playing disc golf. This last year, I started into autocross. My friends, longtime supporters of the podcast, Chris and Amber, they let me come and spectate several events and got me rides in cars and helped me out. And then I bought a car. Chris helped me do some light mods. And then I drove in my first event. You came out. You got to ride in my car and Chris's car. And I'm absolutely hooked. I can't wait to do more. The people are absolutely lovely. They're very nice people.
People are very friendly out there.
They're so nice. And so I'm making new friends. I'm learning about things. I'm having a hell of a good time. These are things you need to do as an adult. If you can't think of the last time you made a new friend or even new like acquaintance friend, activity-based friend, you need to do something because you're going to become like one of those old people that just doesn't leave because all your friends are dead.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Probably reach out through the ether to a troubled young woman and take over her mind. It's very... I'm tying it to Nosferatu.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's how you make new friends when you're an ancient black magic vampire.
Yeah. See, he hadn't been keeping up on any of that stuff for centuries.
So that's my wild card. Start a new hobby and make new friends. Okay. And that's just life advice.
Yeah. So in the spirit of that, I'm going to say my wild card is new kittens.
Ooh.
Because,
heck yeah.
We've had, Lisa and I had a couple of cats pass away. Our cat, levels were getting very low. And our cat Theon was very, very sad after the passing of his bestest buddy, Gus. And bringing a couple of new kittens into the house, one purposefully and one that just showed up, has given his life new purpose and has brought a ton of joy into the household.
Well, that's good.
Kittens are so much damn fun. You sort of forget when you have old cats are great because they're lazy and you're lazy and you want to lay on the couch and that's all they want to do too. kittens are full of piss and vinegar. They want to explore. Maybe they eat some of your cactus and poison themselves a little bit. God. They are rascals, and they entertain each other, and they reinvigorate the old cats. They make the old cats kind of come back to life in a way that they hadn't been for a long time. And so, yeah, new kitties, I think, is going to be my wild card.
Absolutely. I could not imagine my life without my cats, and I figure I'll probably get more cats down the road when I get old.
What'd your cats have to say to you when you came home from Hawaii?
Jet was immediately happy and came over and rubbed against us and laid on his back to get belly rubs. Cole sat on the arm of the couch and looked over at us, meowed, and then looked away to show her disdain. Yeah. But when I went and sat down in my spot, she immediately came over and like leaned up against me and stuff. Yeah. So it was like literally she had like 15 seconds of cold shoulder, and then she's like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. Your cats are big sweeties and big softies. Yeah. I came over mid in your vacation, and I walked in, and I heard Jet made a croaky, pitiful meow that I have never heard him make. Like, I came in and it's like, and I was like, "Where are you, buddy? Like, what is everything okay?" And he's like, he does this like really sad sound, and I came and I was like, Jet, are you all right? And then the normal meow came, like, but he was just like, I've forgotten what people are like.
It's been a few days.
Yeah, he was being so dramatic and pitiful, and then he went right back into his normal routine.
Yeah, they're sweetie pies. I second your wild card mention of getting some cats. Kittens are great. Seniors are great. Just have some cats. They're really fun. Yeah, I don't even have a qualifier on that. Yeah, it's just going to be better for you. Yeah. We'd like to thank you for joining the Nightshade Cult.
And until we meet again, we're wishing you unpleasant dreams.